Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Virche Epic Lycoris, continuing Mathis's route. Your toe is stuck because your toenails are too long. Yeah, you should let me trim them. The bird is trying to climb down onto my pants, and his toe got stuck on the sleeve of my sweater. It's because your toenails are too fucking long. Yeah. You should let me trim them. See? Then you wouldn't get stuck. Although normally when you get stuck, you freak the hell out and you're flapping all over the place and it's like, oh my God, like you're dying. But you're very calm about it this time. He's like, if I act like I totally meant to do this and I just try to gently tug and don't freak out, she won't talk about how my toenails are too long. No, I still will because they're like daggers. Anyway, we're continuing Mathis's salvation ending stuff. I have no idea what the fuck just happened here because I didn't record yesterday. I had a day off from work and I was like, yeah, record a couple of hours. Awesome. And then I sat there and I was like, I don't feel like doing this right now. Yeah, I don't know. And then it was like 3 o'clock and I was like, yeah, it's too late. Even though 3 o'clock is normally when I start on a normal weekday because of work. Even though my work day does go till 5, but whatever, I do nothing after 3 anyway. So I'm like, whatever. If I've got nothing to do, nobody's it doesn't matter. Anyway, so, yeah, I did nothing yesterday, so we might get a little behind on this. I don't know, my motivation, although we have been doing well, it's getting a lot more interesting, and it's turned a corner, and it's gotten better, but my motivation is lacking, so, anyway. We continued our investigation with the little information we had. That's true. We're going around to all the places, finding out more about Camille and Rosalie. It was as if we were rushing to chase their shadows before nightfall. Those who knew Camille said that he was bright, friendly, and a positive fellow. As for Rosalie, those who knew her said she was a graceful, gentle, and beautiful woman. They really seemed to be a perfect match. If they had been born outside of this country, I was sure they would have been able to live together as a happy couple. They would have been able to live together as a happy couple if that one bitch hadn't been a psycho and killed Rosalie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they wouldn't have lived for very long because they didn't want to become relivers, but that is not what caused their ultimate downfall. Yeah, you know what I mean? That seems to be the sentiment in this game. If they had been born outside this country. Yeah, I mean, we all think that once in a while, But, it's not like, oh, she got sick and died. It was, she got brutally slaughtered by a fellow prostitute. So, that could have happened anywhere else when you have a jealous bitch around you. You know what I'm saying? So, circumstances here. Mathis and I returned to the mansion with mixed feelings. I just don't like them blaming this godforsaken place they live in when it's not fair, which is just kind of funny, me defending Arpachel. I am defending this little island country because it did not do anything wrong here. Let's be fair. It wasn't the country's fault, even though it sucks royally. It sucks 99.9% of the time, but this is the 0.1% of the time it didn't suck, okay? Wasn't its fault. I mean, maybe indirectly it is the country's fault, I suppose, because everybody's on edge and psycho, so. Mathis and I returned to the mansion with mixed feelings. Hi, I know you want patties, but this is a very awkward way to pet you. I'm sorry. Ow. We headed down into the underground passageway that existed deep below the laboratory. Cyan told us that this passage was used by Camille to work with his unknown supporter. Normally the passage would be off limits, but Mathis somehow got approval for us. Okay. I'm sorry for bringing you to a place that isn't completely safe. It's all right. I was curious about this passage anyway. This passage wasn't directly under the Claude family mansion, but a certain distance away. The passageway that crumbled recently was still covered in debris, and no efforts had been made to remove the rubble. So, Camille used this passage to work with this supporter. do you want to go further? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested. I wouldn't mind learning the identity of the supporter who used Camille to his advantage, but I highly doubt they're just going to pop out and be like, hello, it was me all along. I'm just saying. And I mean Dahut, obviously, because you didn't catch that. But, like, you know. We came here for a different reason, so I'll let it go for now. Mathis convinced himself as he stepped through the water. Let's go. We have permission to get as close to the site as possible. Understood. I held on to Mathis's hand so that we wouldn't be separated. I proceeded through the passageway, wading through the water in silence. It's true. What was the deal? Aside from, like, the passageway was used for secret things and, like, getting the machinery out and, like, whatever. The secret dealings. But there was something to deal with these hearts filling up with something. And wasn't Dahut doing that when he was slowly killing everyone and he was, like, what? Didn't that have something to do with it? Like, he was like, I'm siphoning everyone's life out or something weird. Or he was, like, pumping the toxins out further. There was something going on and I just cannot remember now. It's like, there was some weird sus shit going on. But, like, I can't quite remember. Aside from Dahut in general, but... We proceeded through the passageway, wading through the water in silence. After our clothes became completely drenched and heavy, we finally arrived at a location filled with rubble. I don't know what you want, because you want me to pet you, but then every time I go reach out to pet you, you're like, no, I'm going to preen myself, and you run around in little circles. And then I pet you, and then you bite me, and then I don't know. You're weird. I don't know. Everybody knows you're weird. Anyway. It seems Cyan had verified there was no concern regarding further collapse. It looks like they've recovered all the research materials and equipment already. Yes, the only things left are items unrelated to Camille's research, like his personal belongings. Mathis picked up a normal-looking pen from the rubble. Cyan gave us his approval, so let's look around carefully. In order to become Jean, Camille had to remove all traces of him from the mansion. Which means his collapsed laboratory should house everything about him. Right, but his laboratory... Okay, so that's true, because the original mansion, I'm going to assume... Obviously, we're living in that little blue house. It's different. That's a new mansion in a different location. It's not like it was built on whatever. So I can't remember what happened to the original one. I'm assuming it went down in flames, but it looked like it was all brick, so I don't know how that works. But, like, if it all collapsed and everything like that, then, like, yeah, because his laboratory was the basement under the mansion, and this, I'm assuming that is the only way to get to it, because you can't get it to it through the house anymore, because the house is, like, in ruins or whatever, so. Or condemned, at any rate. Anyway, right. At this point, we were no longer just trying to find an answer to our questions. We were instead focused on finding any proof of Camille's life. It's true, because anyone who knew him is probably dead, unless they became relivers. And there. We removed the debris we could, waded through more water, and explored the remains of the laboratory. It didn't take long for us to find a number of minor items, but nothing more. I knew it wasn't possible, but it seems Camille and Rosalie's bodies aren't here anymore. Mathis's muddy fingertips stopped as he muttered to himself. I wonder if they were lost in the explosion or the collapse. Who knows? They might have even been washed away down the passage. I feel... Maybe they're still alive! That's exactly what I was thinking, I'm not gonna lie. I know we have a save point here, I think. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna lie. When they were like, their bodies aren't here, and I'm like, are we sure there were bodies to be found? Like, are we... Like, you know what I mean? And all the other times that, like, based on the other endings we've seen, so I'm like... But I feel like... Okay, if we assume maybe they're still alive, that could continue the thing, and they're together forever, and then we get stabbed because we don't suspect they're alive. But at the same time, if we say maybe they're alive, that could also, like, fuel Mathis to be desperate to find them when they're actually dead or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, my brain was like, I think the right answer is probably, they're together forever. And not, they're still alive. But my brain was like, are you sure they're dead? Because, like, I don't trust anything. Yeah, okay. You know, no matter what happened to them, they're together now and they always will be. Okay, so that's a good way of phrasing it. It's like, no matter what happened, they're always together now. Like, whether they died and they got washed away or they're out there alive somewhere, doesn't matter. Let's not think about it. You know, she's just like, they're together. That's what matters. And it's like, yep. Because maybe if we say, maybe they're still alive, it's gonna just fuel like crazy math. And then, you know what I mean? Then we're gonna just die searching for them or some shit. I continued to move the rubble as I thought about how forgiving I could be to someone who did so many terrible things. Yeah, but you've seen their love story and that really humanizes Jamil, and it's like, you can't hate him, you know? He's a really great villain, you know? Because he's sympathetic, you know? And that's the perfect kind. I suddenly noticed, what's this? I think that's our last choice, to be fair. Yeah, okay. From below the rubble, I found a single book that was slightly damp with water. I like how they actually made the book look damp and like the pages look wrinkly, like when the book gets wet. Could he be part of his research materials? Oh, I hit the wrong button. No, it looks more like, is it a journal? I carefully turned the page so that it wouldn't tear and read what was inside. It is his journal. Today I met an unbelievably beautiful woman. She told me her name is Rosalie. A pretty name like that is so perfect for her that it's almost unfair. I like her. No, I love her. I met this woman today and I love her. Listen, okay, listen. This is a different time and a different place in a weird country, okay? So, like, we're going with, like, Victorian times where you're like, oh, modern times, it's like, all right, watch out, creepy. You know? I saw this girl and I love her and I'm going to follow her now. Okay, maybe don't do that, nice guy. What the hell? Get out. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, really just depends on the lens you're looking at this through and whether this is, like, adorable or creepy. I feel like a lot of things kind of fall along that line. Is it adorable or creepy? Really depends. And today's the day I finally met the woman of my dreams. I mean, again, it sounds romantic until you're like, doesn't like you, and then you're writing all these things about how obsessed you are with her and how you're going to marry her, and she really wants nothing to do with you, and then you're just a creepy bastard who can't take no for an answer, and then that's disturbing. And wrong and inappropriate, you know? But knowing that, like, he was like, man, I'm going to be like, hey, and she's like, oh my God, hi, and then they both fell in love. It's like, oh, it's so romantic. Very well could have turned out the wrong way, you know? Inside was an unreserved account of his love for Rosalie. So we're just going to go with it's adorable, because we know how it turns out. I mean, tragically, but, like, their romance was beautiful, so it's fine. Could this be Camille's diary? Oh, though. The story didn't end there. It grew with each passing page. Since it was love at first sight, I couldn't help but ask her to marry me. And she turned me down spectacularly. But I didn't give up. Again, could be creepy. I wonder if she thought I was just a rich guy looking for a good time. I wouldn't ask you to marry me. I would just give you $20. Like, I mean, I don't know currency in this world and how in this day and age, $20 is not a lot of money, but like, it probably was back in like 1750. I don't know what kind of time period they're going on and what's a lot of money, but I'm just saying, like, he's a little weird for thinking that, like, she probably just thought I was a rich guy who wanted to have some fun. She's a prostitute. That's her job. So, like, you didn't have to propose to her to get that. You just have to offer her going rate and maybe give her a nice tip. You know what I'm saying? Not your tip, but like a monetary. I'm not sorry. You're welcome. But even how she sweet-talked her way out of it was so charming. I'm not going to give up over this. I will have Rosalie as my wife. Again! Again! Only because it turned out adorable is this not creepy and douchey. You know what I mean? There's a fine line here. She turned me down again today, but I learned from my attempts that Rosalie likes beautiful flowers. It should be easy to prepare the best bouquet for her as a gift, but using my family's wealth to do that is probably wrong. Do it anyway. I know. I'll do something like Karoon and make money with my own hands. Rosalie accepted my bouquet, and unless I was just seeing things, it looked like she was really happy about it. Which, oh, this is so... I... Modern times and modern men's being psychotic and cunty is really ruining this. Because, like, you see men like this all the time, like, she was thrilled. Maybe she was just being polite, and maybe you should stop asking her the same question she keeps telling you no to. I mean, again, to be fair, in reality, for this, we know that she was probably, no, what? No. I'm like, probably flirting back with him and actually giving him signs that she was into him, and he's not just misreading. And she's like, no, I hate you. I will light you on fire. Don't make me call the cops. And he's like, aw. So, man, the way she flirts, and you're like, no, you don't listen to words. You know what I mean? So, we can't really judge Camille for this, but man, some of the thoughts that are going through his head are very, like, incel-like in a way. You know? I don't know, man. Oh, what are you doing, Bird? Anyway. I felt like we've gotten a lot closer now, so I used the opportunity to try and close the gap. She then told me she can give me sweet dreams for just one night. It was a really tough decision, but I refused. Aw. Well, see? And then that just proves that he's not as douchey as some of his thoughts come out to be, you know? Because, like, you know, my goal is for her to be my wife, so there's no reason to end it all as a passing dream. And when I told her that, she smiled like she was a little troubled. Another lovely expression of Rosalie's. Again, it's ebbing and flowing between like, oh, well, problematic. I know, Camille's problematic, not in this sense. In other senses, but man, can you see the parallels here with like modern men and some of the ways they think, and like if you were reading this from certain dudes' diaries, like they'd be keeping diaries, come on, but like, okay, their Twitter accounts, you'd be like, God, you're a cunt. She said no, Jesus. You're not cute, dude. You're a stalker and probably a little rapey. Get out of here. You know what I mean? But like, we're reading this in an Otome game. We know how their relationship turned out and whatever, and we're reading like, no! It's really kind of fucked up. Just how vastly different it can be, you know? When you know both sides, I guess, to be fair. If you only know his side, it could come off very like, I don't know about this dude. But the more I learn about Rosalie, the more I'm drawn to her. I want us to love each other as a man and a woman. I want to make her happy. The little I know about the outside world is what I've heard from rumors, but I'm sure the emotion I'm feeling is the greatest love in the world. Okay, still romantic. I looked up at Mathis from the diary and saw that we were both smiling. It's all about Rosalie, isn't it? He looks like his personality was the same as before. He makes me want to follow his example. With each page we turned, we found more and more mentions of Rosalie. Mathis and I continued to read the diary where we left off. Rosalie finally accepted my confession of love. I'm so happy I still can't believe it. This can't all be a dream, can it? When I said that to her, she gave me a little poke on the cheek. Ah, my Rosalie is so cute. I introduced Rosalie to my parents. As expected, they were against the whole thing. They asked me what use there was in being madly in love if I would just lose those feelings after becoming a reliver. They got me there. I was so happy being in love that I didn't want to think about it. How can we live in this country so cruel toward love? Now, this has turned into a Jane Austen novel. I knew then that Rosalie and I needed to talk this through. I spoke with Rosalie until daybreak. We decided in the end that, in order to protect our love, we wouldn't have ourselves backed up and instead die as normal humans. But, to be honest, I want to make her happy, and not just for a few more years, but forever. We found out that Rosalie's pregnant. I can't even express how happy I am that our love is a physical form. But I'm scared. I'm really scared. I'm scared of dying and leaving our child behind in this cruel country. Why can't we watch our precious child grow up into an adult? I want much more. I want dozens more years to live with them and love them. Oh, and now it's tragic again. And with that, Camille's written thoughts ended there. The end of the last page seemed to be blotted with tears. Aww. Camille kept saying he chose death in order to save his love, but just as you expected, I suppose it didn't come so easily. Yes, he chose not to live a life of regrets and instead face the fear of death head on. Not wanting to lose the love he felt was what drove his decision to live a life full to the end. Knowing that makes me sort of happy. A small flower fell out from between the pages into a puddle below. Since it wasn't pressed, it was hard to identify what sort of flower it was, but Mathis carefully picked up the flower from the water. Spacey, there's something I want to do before I come to a decision. He was full of determination, completely unlike the despair he experienced after learning the truth behind the memory crash. He went on to express a wish he had. You're going to leave this, hanging in the air and being kind of, tragic, aren't you? After that day, Mathis stopped looking for Camille's footprints in the outside world. Instead, he spent his breaks in between work to read Camille's diary over and over again. One day, he made some arrangements. A week later, a small gravesite was built in a sunny spot in the Claude family's garden. Finally done. Oh, it says Camille, Claude, and Rosalie. Aw. Yeah. Mathis rested the dry, wilted flower against the gravestone. Written on it were the names Camille and Rosalie, carved into the stone. It's sad that reading the stone with everything kind of faint and barely legible was easier than reading the white-on-white text. I thank you very much for agreeing to have a grave built for them, Spacey. But are you sure about this? You experienced a lot of pain in the laboratory during the experiments. Would seeing this be a terrible reminder of it? Well, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have mixed feelings about it, but I still remember Camille's last words clearly. In that moment, he chose not to be a murderer, but your brother instead. Somehow I can't bring myself to hate him. Also, now seeing everything he went through and the person that he really was before somebody ripped that all away from him and he lost his fucking marbles, doesn't mean that you forgive him for what he did, but you can kind of empathize and be like, yeah, I put myself in his place, and if I were in his shoes, I can't blame him for going a little psycho. Doesn't make what he did right, but, again, that's what makes him a sympathetic and good villain. The wilted flower was accompanied by golden flowers we purchased at the marsh. Of course, there was nothing inside the grave. The construction of it was essentially for our own satisfaction, but yeah, it's all right. Aww. Wait, no, go back. What are you doing? You, cut off half a Mathis. Okay, there we go. I'm like, that's a cute CG. It's pretty. That must be our last one. This end is titled Writing a Love Story with You, and I was kind of wondering when we were reading the diary if he's going to, write... Well, we're going to write our love story, whether he actually writes it in paper form, you know what I mean, in book form, or just writing it by living it. But I also thought, but it's kind of also ties into, if you think about it, Camille writing down in a way, his love story with Rosalie on paper in his journal. So there's a lot of tie-ins, and I like it when things do that. This goes back to being in high school and analyzing chapter names of books. So there's a lot of parallels here. We're going to write our epic love story by living it. Mathis is also a writer, so he kind of started writing our love story, but he could also continue actually writing it in book form, so it's out there. But then we kind of saw Camille and Rosalie's story from interacting with people, so we saw how they were writing their love story, and Camille literally wrote it down. You know what I mean? It's just kind of all time, and I just like it. I like that. That's fun. Good job, game. You're coming back around and making me like you better. Because I'll be honest, you had a very rough start, but... Anyway, I learned a lot from following this trail behind him, and now I finally feel like I can call him my brother. A smile bloomed across his face like a flower. My brother, father. He didn't say that, but We both fell in love with someone so dear to us that it tore at our hearts. And there's no doubt that we're brothers whose souls are connected. A strong wind blew and flower petals flew into the beautiful sky. This is very much end-coded, so, let's not drag it out, game. Let's wrap it up where it's beautiful here, okay? As Mathis looked up forlornly, I stood next to him and looked up as well. I can't say that I'm grateful or that I forgive you, but please rest in peace with your love. I spoke my parting words to his sinful soul. After losing sight of the petals, Mathis turned his attention to me, smiling gently. Let's think about our future as long as we need to, just like they did. I may only have a year left, but it also means I still have a year to live. Whether I live or die, I'm sure I won't regret the decision if we make it together. Yeah, and no matter what happens to us, I know we'll love each other until the end. As if to seal our promise, Mathis gently pressed his lips to my cheek. His expression no longer dwelled in the despair of our uncertain future. That is the perfect place to end it. Okay, you're going to tie. Okay. The next year that passed seemed both short and long at the same time. See, I don't like that they're doing this, and they're going to be like, okay, so then the next year... No. End it there. It's kind of a cliffhanger. You don't know what's going to happen, but it has a happy connotation to it. You know what I mean? And it takes away some of the despair and some of the angst, and you're like, happily ever after, and you could just pretend, and I don't have to think about the underlying trauma of, we're going to have to do this process constantly, year after year, if he becomes a reliver again, probably. You know what I mean? Or then we both just die, which is also and they're both kind of tragic ends. That was a perfect place to end it, and you're gonna now bring us... Stop it. Why? Why do the writers of this game, I get it, the whole plot of the game and the original one was angst and stuff, but now you have a fan disc. Why do you insist on taking the quote-unquote salvation end and being like, yeah, so we have a moment where we could have stopped it and left it happy, but fuck you! No, why are you going to ruin it? I don't know that they're going to ruin it, but I feel like they ruined it. That was the perfect place to end it. Perfect. And I feel like you're going to drag it down and make it bittersweet and kind of just ruin the vibe. You know what I mean? Just going to ruin it. The next year that passed seemed both short and long at the same time. Spacey, this way. The view of the ocean's so beautiful from over here. Coming! We cherished each and every day we spent together. We could have inferred that. I'm just saying. Oh, you're right. It's like a sparkling jewel. I can't believe the ocean beyond this is made of such deadly waters. Right? It's not just a great reference for my novel, but I wanted to be here, just the two of us. I read in a book that this is a good idea for lovers to spend time together in romantic places. I read that it's a good idea, sorry. Again, I'm going to blame the text box, but it's probably just me in this case. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I clicked that. Mathis, you can lie down on my lap and rest if you want. Huh? You haven't slept much recently because of how busy you've been. I was thinking how nice it would be if I could help you unwind. Are you sure? Would you, please? I'd like to pamper you a bit sometimes since you've been doing your best. Understood. Then if you don't mind. Although this would have been a good place for a CG, but maybe we'll get one. I don't know. Make yourself comfortable. It's the first time someone let me rest on their lap like this. It feels so nice. I could almost fall asleep. You can if you want. I'll try to stay up. I brought us all the way out here so I could spend time with you. Every second we spend together here and in the future, I want to make sure we etch them into our hearts as memories we'll never forget. Me too. Of course, not every day was filled with these carefree moments of love. Oh, God, you've got to be fucking kidding me. You had such a great place to end it, and then I was like, okay, well, we're having a little romantic moment here, so that's okay. That's cute if that's where you're going. No, now we got to go, and it's like, you're dragging this out, and, okay. We're back to, it's now in that point of, now I'm not enjoying it. We were having a moment, and it was really good, and we had a good ending, and it felt good, and then you just were like, and it's like, this again. And in that little scene, if we had a little couple more minutes there, like, okay, all right, fine, I'll give you that, because it's like just showing we had a little romantic moment, like after we, okay. But now it's like, okay, so now let's just go back to regular bullshit no one cares about. We don't need this. We don't. You're dragging it out. You had a perfect, happy-ish little moment to end it on, where it felt good, and you're dragging it the fuck out. Oh, dear God. He'd been seeing Cyan periodically to get his memory checked, and worked in revising the law after he had the royal family judged for the crimes they committed. His focus was on improving people's lives, whether they decided to live as relivers or die as humans. I mean, like, I guess this isn't totally unnecessary, but it feels kind of totally unnecessary. I don't think anyone was like, well, what about all that? You didn't care about the plot. Let's be real. Since we'd be leaving our loved ones behind, we couldn't keep our plans a secret. Okay. We spoke to our dear friends about our future and heard many different opinions from them. I guess we just decided to die? Okay. Again, I feel like they should have just not fucking done this and just left it with the whatever we decide kind of open ending so that it felt kind of, you could have written the ending yourself in your head. Like, yeah, they're going to be relivers, but it'll be okay. They'll find a way and then they'll be happy forever together. Or, you know, if you were like, no, you know what? They're going to die together and it'll be peace. It'll be beautiful. Whichever way made you feel more at peace with the ending would have been better than setting it in stone and kind of just being like, oh, well, why, you know? Yeah, no, I'm back to like, this was pointless. I also made sure to tell my family it was pointless. Mother and Adolphe were both surprised and saddened by the future we chose, but I'm saddened the game decided to, like, shove all this in. So your feelings for each other are that strong, huh? In that case, it's not my place to judge based off what I personally want. Yeah, well, Adolphe, you and me both. I personally wish that they had just ended in that moment instead of continuing this, but there may be a great deal of suffering before you reach the answer. If either of you are unable to bear it, come here to let it out. We'll be here to cry with you. In the end, they wouldn't let us make our own decision. Oh, they would, sorry. They would let us make our own decision. I was like, what? Of course, these peaceful days wouldn't last forever. Yeah, well, that's because you insisted on dragging it down at the end. Mathis! He was working on his novel when he suddenly lurched forward, clutching his chest. I quickly rushed to support him. So you took what could have been a happy open end and you're going to kill him and ruin everything? Wow. Yeah. I'm back to regretting playing this. I'm all right. I'm sorry if I scared you. I expected the original game to be depressing, but like this one you had a moment, you were like, okay, and then you're just gonna make what was not a terrible end. He comes back and he kind of doesn't remember you, but you were like, well, it's okay, we can figure it out, and then you just, and then everybody died. What the fuck? He put up a strong front, but I could clearly hear the sound alerting him from inside his chest. This is the fourth time. The intervals are a lot shorter than I thought. Science said that the memory crash would happen in a year, but I'm not pausing every time he pauses. It's annoying. I hope I can finish my novel before then. After all, I want you to be the first to read it. I hugged him as hard as he could. I'm thinking as hard as I could as he spoke with tears in his eyes. I'm sure you'll finish it. We'll read the novel you wrote together. Until then, I won't let you die, Mathis. Thank you. He hugged me back, his body heated from the error in his system. What a predicament. In order to live as long as possible, I have to give up my romantic feelings. But the more I'm with you, the more I love you. I'm shaving away at my own life expectancy. Then, should I try to stay away from you? At my suggestion, Mathis shook his head without hesitation. This is not the kind of like shit you need toward the end of the route. You need this kind of debate and stuff in the middle, not at the end. Please stay with me for as long as time and my lifespan permit. Not being able to see you scares me more than dying does. We knew what the answer was from the beginning. And yet, understood. In that case, let's sleep in the same bed tonight as well. If we fall asleep holding hands, we'll be able to meet in our dreams. I don't want to waste a single second of the time we have left. The heat made him drip sweat, and now tears fell from his eyes. I knew what to expect, but it's still very painful. I can bear the pain, but each time these attacks happen, I feel my time with you being cut short. I somehow held myself back from crying with him. The person who was suffering the most now was Mathis. No, it's us. In order to come to a decision with me, he was doing his best to hold back from clawing at his chest to relieve the pain surging through his body. I couldn't burden him with my tears while I was still a human who didn't know the pain he was going through. Which was why... So I guess the next attack is gonna kill me. Scary, huh? I accepted every word he spoke in a weak voice. The fear of death was nothing to be ashamed of. I learned that from the loving couple who faced it bravely until the end. Time could be cruel. Yeah, so is this game right now. No matter how careful we were, Mathis's memory bank didn't show any signs of improvement. We spent our days together through the passing seasons, talking over and over again. Even so, we still couldn't decide on our answer. Okay, what is the fucking point here? Because you literally just went to your friends and were like, we made a decision, and they're like, okay, whatever, and then you're like, we have no idea what our decision is. Because before, when you showed everybody, it made it sound like you were going to die together. You chose that you were just not going to become real livers, you were just going to go out. And now you're like, we have no idea what we're going to do. What the that doesn't make any goddamn sense. Okay, whatever. The 1-year mark was now only a week away. They had a perfect place to end it, and I really hate when games do this, and this one is now guilty of it multiple times over. You have something that's the perfect place to end it, and then you keep going, and with shit that we don't need, and it's like, just wrap it up, because we were at a point where I felt good about the whole thing, and now I'm like, we're still fucking doing this? And you're just taking me out, and it's making me not want to be here anymore. And we were having such a good time like 10 minutes ago, game. And then meanwhile, for the despair ending, you continued that and you were like, oh yeah, here's the thing. And then you were over and done with. You could have put a little bit more into that one. Another 10 minutes. Okay, not like 6 hours, but a little bit longer into that. Fluff that one on a little bit, and it would have been okay. You cut that one so fucking short, but the rest of these, you're just dragging on and on with filler shit that could have been in the middle of the route, but now you put it at the end after you had a perfect end spot. And it's like, you had the perfect place to end it, and it felt like you were like, yeah, this is where the credits are gonna happen, guys. It's the end of the movie, and then they're like, 2 days later, we're all just sitting around, sweeping, mowing the lawn, and you're like, what the fuck? What is happening? Why? It's not even like an after credit scene. It's still going, and you're like, are we like only in the middle of this? Because, again, you tied everything in a bow and then just light that bow on fire. What the fuck? I really hope the rest of this game isn't like this, or you might not see any of this. I might even just be like, fuck it, I'm not doing it, because I don't think I have ever, that's not true. I really want this to be a game when we get to the end. I'm like, we had a rough start, but the whole thing was good. But it keeps fucking dragging me back down and making me like, why are we fucking here? Why are we doing this? And for really enjoying the first game so much and really looking forward to this is it's like way more disappointing. You know what I mean? Than like, oh yeah, this game seems like it'll be fun. And then you're like, yeah, it's not my thing. I liked the game, the first one, so much, even though it was tragic and it was mean. And now you are just dragging this shit out and making it unbearable and not fun anymore. You took the fun out of it. And I don't know. I don't want to get to the end and be like, I hated every second of this, because that's not the memory I want to have. And it's going to sour the memory of the first game. Like, because this is just done so badly. Again, I get it. You're trying to give people their money's worth, but my money's worth would be in a really good story, not something that just goes on and on for 16 hours. I know. I keep ranting about it because I'm so fucking miserable right now. Anyway, Because we're the 1 year mark's a week away, and we're gonna go lollygag through this whole fucking week. It's only 5 days away, guys. It's 4 days away, and it's gonna be this pulling teeth the whole time. While we were in the middle of conversation, Mathis suddenly fell to his knees. Mathis? I'm okay. That wasn't an error. Just my memory bank fizzling. Yeah. That doesn't change the fact that it hurts. Let's get you to bed right... No. As I tried to lead him to the bed, Mathis gently grabbed my arm. We can't afford postponing our decision any longer. I don't have much time until the next attack. I need to give you my answer tonight. Can't you just do it now? So I don't have to waste more time getting to tonight? 10 minutes from now? The distant idea of Mathis dying was now suddenly within sight. Yeah, and then there's what? So that's what the game's gonna fucking do and then kill him when you had a perfect ending and left it sorta happy? God, fuck you, right? Fuck the writers. Seriously, fuck them. You suck. I mean, again, I know the whole game's supposed to be depressing, but you had a moment to actually leave it in a relatively, like, I mean, either outcome is not the best, but you left it in a moment of a high where you're like, we can live in denial for a little bit, and now you're like, fuck you, you don't get that. Be miserable. Yeah, I don't... I'm more miserable reading the whole lollygag and bullshit. I can't help bitching about it, guys. I can't. It's making me mad. I'm afraid. I'm afraid this is going to keep going. I didn't want to talk about anything related to Mathis's death. Well, I wanted to keep believing in the miracle of the storybook ending that we could live happily ever after. You had that 10 minutes ago. But let's go outside. I want us to decide on the place that makes you happy. Okay. If I tried to look away from the reality now, I'd miss seeing Mathis doing his very best to live life until the end. I offered him support, helping him to his feet so we could step outside. We somehow made it to the Lycoris field where we could see the beauty of the sun setting over the sea. Mathis took a breath and set his eyes on the ocean. Spacey, were you able to make your decision? He asked about the choice I couldn't put off any longer. I wish this damn game would end right now. I closed my eyes and thought deeply. This past year, she's gonna just go on and analyze the whole fucking year now. I imagined what the future would be after I died as a human and revived as a reliver, only to be thrust into a painful cycle. The fear, the suffering. Right now. That's how I feel. I didn't know how many times I wanted to cry as I tried to sleep through the night. Nevertheless, the decision I made after enduring that despair was, I want to be with you on whatever path you choose, Mathis. That's not a fucking answer. Mathis's eyes widened in surprise at the words I spoke with a heavy heart. You don't need to force yourself to stay with me. No, you've got it all wrong. I tried to explain what I meant in different terms. The future I imagined, either a future of life or a future of death. You were always a part of my future regardless. He appeared in both versions of that future, no matter what. That was why I'm fine as long as you're by my side. No matter the outcome, I'll be able to accept it, knowing that we experienced the greatest love in the world. I may have my regrets, but I wouldn't dwell on them. Which is why I want you to decide without worrying about me. Whether we live to love each other again or die with the love in our hearts now, I'll be proud of your decision, no matter what it is. The silence seemed to stretch on for an eternity, like this ending. The wind blew across Mathis's hair. You weren't going to get away with me not saying that. You know that, right? Suddenly, a strong wind blew as if to interrupt Mathis. Oh, good fucking God. Then, from the distant sky, 2 flowers that had been sent up by the wind came falling down. On instinct, Mathis caught one of the flowers, and I heard the sound of a muffled pop come from his chest. Well. As soon as my memory bank snapped, my vision was engulfed in a flash of white. For some reason, I could no longer see the person who was supposed to be in front of me. Even stranger was that I couldn't see my own body either. It couldn't be... Did I just die from the error? But I haven't told her my decision yet. I haven't told Spacey how much I love and appreciate her. Just as my invisible body was about to crumble from shame and despair, the silence of this world was suddenly broken by bold footsteps. Who's saying how pathetic? A voice I didn't know. Yet somehow there was something familiar about it. Oh! He looked up and saw the vague outline of a figure approaching. The moment I saw him, I felt nostalgic. A voice you didn't know, and yet you've heard his voice your whole life. I probably knew this person from somewhere, but... Oh! Right, because his memory bank snapped, but he remembers us, but he doesn't remember Jean right now? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Nothing that happened after that one moment that would have been a perfect ending has made a lot of sense, but I couldn't seem to remember where. My memories were shrouded in a thick haze. Again, would make sense because your memory bank snapped, but you remember me standing right in front of you, and I didn't get you set, but now you don't remember. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense, really. The man who appeared in front of me seemed quite angry about something. All this drama over a single heart, and you're the one taking over the Claude family name. Well, I was the one who put together your memories and personality, but it's so damn frustrating to watch. He expressed his ire without trying to hide it. I assumed he was irritated by my indecisiveness in not being able to decide on a future with my lover. But I was just as frustrated having someone I didn't know pointing this out to me. But she told you she'd stay with you no matter how much she suffered, right? Then fight, damn it! Go, Jamil. Look at you, saving this. He then pointed at me, continuing without giving me a chance to speak back. You have in you the world's strongest and most beautiful woman's blood. You also have the blood of the man who committed every sin imaginable for the sake of the woman he loves. What does it matter if some stupid heart breaks down? See, right there, he's admitting that you're basically his kid. It seemed he was giving me the world's most incomprehensible scolding and encouragement. I mean, it really is. He was confused by what was going on, but more importantly, are you sure that the answer I come up with, she won't see it as some kind of never-ending despair? I found myself hoping that he'd give me the push I needed to move forward. At my question, the man sighed and shrugged. Of course not. After all, you two are the second strongest couple in the world after us. You should be able to overcome any despair. The man finally grinned. Go, Mathis Claude. I'm sure she's waiting for your confession so you two can head into the future. He turned his back to me, then... He really is gorgeous, isn't he? That beautiful bastard butler. As he waved goodbye, he walked toward the shadow of a woman beyond the white light. So I guess they really were dead. But, you know. I mean, anything could be possible with Jamil, okay? Mathis! Mathis! The moment he caught the flower, he suddenly crumpled to the ground. I rushed over and shook him desperately. Okay, that little scene with Jamil showing up was kind of cute. Okay. But, like, I still just don't like the way they did this. You know what I mean? Like, they bring her, like, that's cute. You're like, you know what? I'm taking that scene. But again, this feels very final. Like, we're going to have our final moment at the end of the route right here. And then they'll probably drag it on for another 20 fucking minutes. And it's like, you do this too goddamn much. Whoever is writing this needs to be slapped. Stop giving us 52 endings. Don't do this. You have to have one climactic, beautiful, oh, the game is coming to an end, and then you finish. You don't then go on and do boring shit and then come back. You don't get to keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because this feels very like, okay, wrap it the fuck up right now. You know? That little moment and everything, this should be the end. The little confession, again, we're going to have 22 minutes of them saying the exact same thing over and over to each other, but should wrap it up not 2 weeks later. Oh, for fuck's sake. You know. Unless there's an after credit scene, then fine, fair, but not a before. Spacey. His breathing returned to normal as he spoke my name. When that happened, I nearly burst into tears. I might burst into tears when this ends. I'm so glad you're awake. I thought I was going to lose you without ever hearing your answer. Overwhelmed by emotion, I collapsed onto his chest. Mathis took a look around for a moment. I'm sorry for worrying you like this. He carefully held me in his arms. Okay, well, we get another CG, so okay, I'll give you a point for that. His heartbeat. It wasn't stable, but hearing it was proof that he was still alive. It gradually synced with my own heartbeat, which was pounding with anxiety. It is a pretty CG. The next moment, I finally have the answer I've been looking for. Spacey, I still want a future where we can keep falling in love. As our pulses met, he voiced his decision for the future. Okay, see, that's positive. I really thought they were going to kill him, and I was going to be like, fuck you. Like, choosing to go on, even though you keep having to repeat it, is still the better version. It would have been better if you ended it beforehand, and you left it completely open. But, whatever. This is alright. I looked up in surprise, again, unless they fucking don't end it here. The meaning of his answer meant he would continue reviving as a reliver and repeat a short life of a single year each and every time. It was a sign of his resolve to challenge despair head on. And you don't know, as you're getting stronger in your memories, maybe it'll be like, now it's been a year and 3 months. You don't know. You don't know. And the technology could come about where they could figure out if they let Dahut do what he wants to fucking do and find a way to, like, enhance the memory in the heart, so you can remember emotions, so. His expression, filled with emotion, seemed strangely satisfied. It seemed he didn't choose this path out of a sense of defeated resignation, but are you sure that's what you want? If you're thinking about the promise you made to me, you don't have to worry. For your life and death to be at the mercy of someone else's desires seems worse than death itself. I stand by what I said. This is an important answer I decided on myself. He wasn't overly optimistic as he spoke about the possibilities. It's easy enough to say it doesn't matter how many times I die. I'm sure the reality is much harsher than I think, which means that we'll experience things much more painful and gruesome than death. Even if we manage to endure the pain, the mechanisms behind it will still lead to death and the loss of the love in our hearts. I know. It was a more difficult path than could be expressed in words. Our lives will be an endless cycle of love and death. Despite that, even if it lasts decades or hundreds of years, even if it breaks my heart, which technically it does, I want to keep falling in love with you. This love is the only thing I'll never give up. His emotions swelled to the point that he could no longer hold himself back. Let's go get him backed up and relived quick, because he's about to die, so. He smiled in the most wonderful way, just like when we first met. Our different hearts beat with the same warmth. Before long, the tears I held back all this time streamed down my cheeks. Is my love burdensome to you? Not at all. It's just that I'm so happy you want to live, Mathis. Will you really continue to love me forever? Of course. If anything, I hope you'll allow me to. Mathis gently wiped away my tears. He then spoke as if giving his oath to God. No, to someone else. Shamil, no matter how many times I die and come back to life, I will always love you, Spacey. I might be a reliver who easily forgets love and dies often, but would you be willing to fall in love with me again and again? There was only one reply I could possibly give him. Similar as before. No, with an even brighter smile than before. Yes, gladly. I promise I'll love each and every version of you. Oh, we get a little kiss moment. Okay. Okay, you better motherfucking end it now. Because, okay. Like, listen, they bring it back around to having another beautiful end moment. But that's the problem. You have something that could be a beautiful end moment, and then you continue it, and you're, like, disappointed. Because you're like, what the fuck? And then they have another beautiful end moment, and then they can... Oh, motherfucker. Oh, well, you know what? Actually, it's okay. This is an after-credit scene. This is an after-credit scene. After-credit scenes are fine. I'm just traumatized from the fact that they just never goddamn end it when they have beautiful moments. Like... I wondered how many times I had seen them live and die in love. Each year I watched as their bodies fell and lay still. There were days when I felt regret, wondering if I had chosen the wrong path. I'm starting to feel like I did sometimes. But I don't know who's saying, "Thank you very much, dear Watchman of Death. Because of you, I made it in time. I'll go meet her right away, since she should be born any minute now." I saw them anxiously await their reunion, and each time I witnessed them fall in love. Oh, I'm assuming maybe that was... Their decision may not have been the best one, but I did my best to accept and respect it as their own choice. No, the writer's decision wasn't the best one, but here we are. Do be careful not to let your manuscript get caught by the wind. Armed with a thick stack of papers, Mathis Claude ran quickly toward the Institute. Spacey introduced Mathis to me many times since then. He began to become strangely fond of me, asking me for advice and opinions on his novel. So it was supposed to be Mathis that was talking to him. Okay, that makes sense. I was planning on dying once I saw her finally find true happiness, but given that the root of Arbishel's curse hasn't been resolved yet, I suppose I need to stay alive in case something happens. But it didn't mean I wouldn't live with despair as I did during the eternity I waited for Spacey. The path the two of them would walk was filled with suffering, but it's a much more beautiful love story than a novel. The brightness of that love saved me time and time again. If they continue to fall in love, I'll also watch over and protect them just as often. I won't let anyone take her away this time. I would continue to protect this story of two precious lovers until this country fell. I vowed that would be my new role as Onko, the Watchman of Death. Like, that's kind of sweet. That would have been a good place to end the after credit. Well, okay. We're waking up as being a reliver right now, and then Mathis is going to run. So, okay, I can kind of understand what they're doing here. So, my experience of floating in the water was telling me the memories flowing into my mind were not the first. But this was merely a log, and this body was my first, so I would never get used to this process. Each time I was struck by a strange sense of anxiety as to whether or not I'd be reborn into a reliver body properly. I even thought at times that perhaps it would be best if I didn't wake up, but I want to meet him as soon as possible. The impatience born in my heart was much greater. After all, I was sure that person was waiting outside the Institute at this very moment. So, I can't begrudge them, like, dragging this on, like this, doing Onko, okay, and then having us be reborn and meeting him again, because, like, okay, we're showing, we've obviously had multiple reliver processes, but it's the first we've experienced as the main character, Spacey, the one who would help me with a new story, was waiting for me. And we get another CG. Wow, we got a lot at the very end. Oh, but, like, it's adorable. Okay, the CGs are good. Okay, like, listen. The CGs are making it worth it. The moment the doors of the Institute opened, the first thing I saw was a boy standing with a stack of papers in his arms. No, given his true age, it would be more accurate to describe him as a man, probably an old one at this point. Well, that's true, we do this yearly, so... Welcome back. I'm glad you revived again safely. The moment he spotted me, his face lit up and he greeted my new self without hesitation. I felt a little guilty seeing him so full of joy. I'm sorry. Seems like it didn't work this time either. I have my memories of when we were in love, but it doesn't feel real. Unable to lie, I told him my honest feelings once again. I wondered how many times we had had this exchange. When it was my turn to come and greet him, he would say the same thing to me. At first, our reunions left us disheartened, but it's fine. I brought the novel with me again. Without any sadness, he presented me with a stack of papers from his novel. A unique love story where a boy born as a homunculus and a lonely girl known as Death fall in love. I made sure the story properly reflected our history together. Dude, you need to bind that shit so it's not just loose papers. Like, what the fuck? You've had plenty of years. Like... I looked at the stack with my eyes widened in surprise. This is amazing. I never knew we had this many pages in your novel. We had once completed this novel together with about 100 pages. But each time one of us died, the memories of that life were added to the story, increasing it by another 100 pages now. I knew it as fact, but seeing it in front of me was simply astounding, and it made me strangely happy. He was now going to turn to me again with a bright smile and talk about our coming future. This novel is every single memory we've shared together until now. So I'd be very happy if you'd read this and fall in love with Mathis again, including his past. I couldn't take my eyes off his smile, and yet I felt anxious. Are you okay with the current me? It was hard to believe he wanted to continue sharing his love with someone who had none. Whether the past you or the current you, all I want is you. Okay, this is oddly romantic for how, like, it's not, honestly, it's not even a terrible, like, them choosing to die together would have been fucking awful. This is like, yeah, it does kind of suck, but like, they love each other so much that even though she's right now, I have no emotions or feelings whatsoever, she's like oddly happy seeing him smile at me, and then like, but they're just so eager to fall in love with each other again. It's actually really kind of fucking adorable in a happy-ish sort of way. It's not like the best possible outcome. You know what I mean? It would be find a way to fix it so we can become relivers and fall in love. But that's not the whole plot of the game. So, you know, being able to overcome that we have no emotions and falling in love with each other again and doing this, like, it's kind of romantic and beautiful in a kind of fucked up way. And like, I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it. I seriously was in the middle, but this is what I'm saying. I really hope the game brings it back around where we had a rough start, but like, just keep getting better. Okay? Anyway, I was taken aback with surprise. Me too, literally. He continued happily with words that were like a song. I love you, Spacey. Just like all the previous versions of me, I'm sure the same will happen this time. I know I'll feel so much love for you that my heart will break. He said that so boldly, and for some reason I felt like he was right. His words would probably come true. It wouldn't take long for my memory bank to be filled with love for him as well. If so, I should confess to him from my side too. I'd return to him the very words he spoke to me that sat in my memory still. I might be a reliver who easily forgets love and dies often, but would you be willing to fall in love with me again? Of course, and the fact that they say this to each other on a regular basis is adorable. With a smile blooming like a flower, we would continue our ephemeral love story. So long as there was a woman named Spacey and a man named Mathis, the story would never end. We would continue to nurture the greatest love in this small country forever. Okay, like, they brought it back around and they ended that good. But, like, that, like, fuck you moment in the middle where it's like, oh, this seems like a really good... It doesn't matter if it's now, the past, or in the future. Let's both love each other again and again until our hearts shatter to pieces. I'm sure that pain is proof our love is the greatest in the world. I had to read that fast because I forgot it had these, and it's gonna go away in, like, 2 seconds. And we missed the one. I mean, you could probably read it somewhere. Somebody will tell me. Like, it's not in a scene list, but it's probably somewhere in special. Is that under personal? Oh. What is this? First impression? This is interesting. Huh. What are those? We'll read those after, I guess, because we don't have all of them. Technically, we have the bad endings to do. We'll do those in the next part, but I gotta be honest. Hold on. I accidentally fucked up my guide. That's gonna be like a 10-minute part, probably. But it's okay. Let's see now. And those first two, I'm assuming we saw, though. Okay, I don't remember which ones we saw. Well, we've seen that. Oh, this was from the bad ending, which we did a couple parts ago. So this is the, I really do wish the touch voice, but anyway, someone will tell us, like I said, if it's just lines from within the thing or it's something totally different, but there's no way we can do it. So there you go. That's for you. If you want to learn and hear those touch voicey lines, you gotta go get the damn game and play it yourself. Like, you know what I mean? And it'll come without the criticism that I have, you know? That one's so pretty. Listen, we've got highs and lows. It didn't start off the best, and I do think they dragged it on a little. They have a habit of doing that, where they drag it on too much. You know what I mean? And it's like, that I think for me is what kills it. Like, we're getting into a good... You're like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, it's not... whatever. And then they bring it to be something good. And you're like, okay, yeah, now we're getting somewhere and we're having a good time. And then, oh my God, like the CG we just saw, when we were getting there, that scene, you're like, oh, that's so pretty. We're still going. They do this like, oh, it's a crescendo. It's a beautiful. We're going to end, and then we're just going to keep going. And I hate it when they do that because it makes you feel like, oh, we're getting to the end. And then when they don't end, you're not like, oh, good. You're like, the fuck is that? Wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot. Like, don't fucking give us something that feels like such a fucking end and then keep going. Because, I don't know, personally, it makes me, I don't go like, oh, yay, I'm so happy it's still going. I'm like, the fuck are you doing to me? I was like, yeah, okay, this is a great place. And I was ready for it to be, I was like, okay, we're done here. And it felt good. Not in like, oh, it's good, we're done. But it was like, this is a good place to end. Yeah, okay. And then you just fucking kept going. And it was like, well, now I'm disappointed. And I don't know. I don't love that. Obviously. You know what I mean? But like, this one's really adorable. I think that's our last one, right? Yeah, okay, because he's the big one. So we're going to go back. This will be the one we end on. But overall, then we get to the actual end and the little after scene, and you're like, it is good as a whole. But I don't like that they set me up to feel like we're at an end, and then they keep going, and they disappoint me, and then they make me, like, angry, and like, what the fuck, what am I doing here, what's the point? And then they bring it back. Like, don't get me wrong, the ending was good. I liked where it went. I just don't like that they're fucking throwing the roller coaster. You know what I mean? Like, why do you keep, like, the choice of the writing style in this, it's not even it's the way you decided to do it. Let's have it feel like it's an end. And then we keep going, and then it's an end. And then we keep going, and then it's an end. And then we keep going. And it's like, fucking A, stop dicking with us. You know what I mean? Like, stop dicking with me. It's like dangling the carrot in front of me and then being like, run, donkey. And then you're like, I'm never going to get, like, you're like, here's the carrot. And right as I'm about to grab it, you're like, no. It's Lucy yanking the football away from Charlie Brown. Stop fucking putting the football out and telling me to kick it if you're just going to make me fall flat on my ass. Stop it. Like, put it down when you're ready for me to kick it into the end zone. You know what I mean? Don't keep dicking me over. I hate it. It makes me mad. Because it does exactly what I did. And then I'm not having fun. And then I'm like, why am I here? What are we doing? And it takes me out of what should be a good route or should be fun to do, and it's not fun anymore. You know what I mean? And then don't get me wrong, like, we came back around, and like, we got to the end, and it was like, we had moments like the whole thing, him seeing Jamil coming to him is like, well, that's kind of cute, and I'm like, okay, I like this, and then they didn't do the other thing that I hate when games do, is like, we got to the end where the two of us were promising, and we had our cute little lines, and it was like, okay, and then they ended it. Because what they normally do is take that little end and they drag it out for 20 more minutes saying the same thing over and over. And you're like, could you just seriously stop? You had plenty of good places to end it and you just keep that scene going. You know what I mean? This one was fine. It ended and the little after scene was perfect. I know for a hot second I was like, well, no, wait. Us coming back as a reliver and doing this was perfect. But again, I had that moment of like, oh, dear God, why? Because you set me up for that before and made me disappointed that then I dragged that into here. And instead of being able to look at it and go, no, you know what? Us waking up as a reliver is actually a really good little twist. Not twist, but you know what I mean? Like a little good addition. And then having this little scene with Mathis is like perfect. It's lovely. I like it a lot. I really do. But yeah, I had so many moments where I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And why am I still here? That I feel like overall, I'm still questioning what the fuck I'm doing here. You know what I mean? I'm still hesitant about the game, it's the fan disc in general, because I'm going to go into our next route being like, oh, yeah, we're probably going to be bored half the time. And again, I don't know if it's just because maybe Mathis wasn't the best place to start. It ended very well. It did, okay? I was fully invested in the bad ending when we were doing the despair ending after story. I was fully invested in that. That was fucked up. And you ended that in 20 minutes. And then, actually, I don't think this one took too long to do, to be fair. And I think it would have been fine, except for I was like, oh, again, like an hour ago, 10 minutes in, we were like, oh, okay, yeah, this is actually an okay place to end it. All right, so this is what we're going to do. And then you kept going. And I don't like that because that makes me crabby, obviously, as you saw. You know what I mean? So it's like, if they stop fucking doing that, which you know they won't, like, I don't know. So I don't know. I don't love them doing that, and I have a feeling that's going to be like a common theme throughout the entire game, where you feel like you're getting an ending and then you have a bunch of scenes that you're going to just make you like, "Oh, we're still here?" That felt like an ending. And they're just going to do that a lot, which is going to be disappointing. I don't love that. But again, they tied it up. The ending was good. I don't hate it. I actually like it a lot for what it is. I don't like a lot of how we had to get here. Okay? But the outcome is okay. I'm here for it. Like, okay, you know, they did it right. The path they did not do right, but the ending they did right. Okay? And there were a lot of little scenes and stuff that I did like a lot, but I'm still on the, like, I guess maybe 75% good. Because I'm still a little hesitant on maybe it was just starting with Mathis. Maybe it really is the encore things just are pointless. You know, where you're like, why are we still maybe they just put a little bit too much into those. You know, because I feel like, again, the despair ending a continuation could have been a little bit longer. I don't want it to be like 2 hours. That's too much. But this one only took 20 minutes to do. If they 30, 40 minutes, like, okay. You know, 30, 35 minutes, even 40. Like, okay, fluff it out a little bit. But maybe part of what made it so good and you wanting it to be a little bit longer was the fact that it was condensed and concise and over with. You were like, oh, wait a minute. And they didn't drag it on, because if they did, there would have been a bunch of pointless scenes, or we would have been reading the same thing over and over and over again. And you would have been like, I don't need this. And it would have ruined it. So maybe they did it exactly perfectly, and maybe they should have snatched up the rest of these a little bit. I think the Salvation end actually was probably a decent length. Again, I don't remember how long. I don't know how long it's taken to do this. But it definitely wasn't 6 fucking hours like the encore. So I don't even know what part we're on, to be fair. I was just going to check and see if I can tell. What is this, part 10? So it took like, what, maybe 4 hours to do the full fucking thing? And then a lot of that was me rambling. So to do both of those, so they spent half the time doing this than they did with the encore. And I think this was better. Keep it shorter and maybe tie it up a little. Like, I keep saying this and I'm going to say it in the next part. So anyway, I liked the way it ended. I just wish they would have just stopped dicking me over with thinking it's an ending and stuff, because, you know, they keep doing this to me. I'm on a ride where I'm like, I'm having fun. Now I'm not anymore. And I don't know if I like that, but we'll see what happens. We're going to do his other bad endings tomorrow, but that part might be 5 minutes. And if it is, it's just going to be a short fucking part. Whatever. I'll just reiterate all my fucking feelings again. So you can just, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.